when they save. Honorable members, majority of Kenyans live in their own rural homes, even though many experience land and settlement challenges, including landlessness, insecure land tenure, and perennial squatter problems. Acute housing challenges are principally an urban phenomenon, and they present a serious threat to health and safety, as well as dignity of people, particularly low-income earners. The proliferation of slums in our urban areas indicate the extent of this serious problem and the urgency with which it must be addressed to enable Kenyans have greater choice in leading dignified, safe, and healthy lives affordably. Low supply of affordable housing units in Kenya is acute, making rent a huge component of the cost of living for many households. The increase in affordable housing units is a strategic intervention to not only supply affordable dwellings for Kenyans, but also as a means to reduce the cost of living. 3 categories of houses will be supplied by this program: social housing, affordable housing, and for the rest, market rate housing. Interest on financing is where we intend to make the big difference. Interest at the moment, as all of us know in this house, is at almost 18%. But under this program, all interest should be or will be at single digit. For social housing, the interest will be at 3%. You know, honorable members, that we all get 3%. So even the people in the social space, they also deserve to get 3%. Those in the affordable housing space will get 6%, and 9% for the people in the market category. The affordable housing program has received tremendous support from county governments across Kenya. And I want to thank governors, and I know the chair of the Council of Governors is here, through her, all governors who have worked with us to make sure that this program becomes a reality. The construction of 46,792 units in various parts of Kenya is already underway, while another 40,000 are ready to commence in a couple of weeks. 50,000 Kenyans are working. People who were previously unemployed, they are now engaged directly and indirectly in this enterprise. And the numbers will significantly increase as the projects move into the next phase and as we roll out many more units. A total of 746,795 housing units are in the pipeline as I talk to you, under various stages of delivery. More jobs are being created with the formalization of the Jua Kali clusters, providing products like doors, hinges, and windows. And this morning, as I visited one of the sites that I went to launch the construction in March, I was amazed that a site that was flat in March today, and I was with the Member of Parliament for Ruto, today has 8 11-block units, almost at 60% complete. And I also met the Jua Kali cluster for Ruto, and they have been given a contract of 140 million to be able to supply doors and windows. Architects, engineers, quantity surveyors, masons, electricians, plumbers, transporters, steel and cement factory workers, and hardware merchants will be partakers in this transformative plan. I spoke to Moses today at the site in Ruto, an electrician. And he told me out of the 1,700 workers in the site today, he was in charge of 114 electricians who are engaged in that site. And he asked me, Mr. President, make sure the next site is ready for us, because we will finish this ahead of time. Let me also say, we are constructing 400 markets across Kenya to provide Mama Mboga with a dignified working environment, complete with water, electricity, and other amenities. And I want to thank members of this House for participating in various ways and working with us and also with the counties in identifying the right locations for these markets. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, our education system must develop a formidable reservoir of skill, talent, highly competitive and innovative human capital to support our vision of an economically transformed Kenya. Within weeks of taking office, I appointed the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform, led by Professor Raphael Munavu, my former teacher, who provided clarity on transition to the new competence-based curriculum and made further recommendations on necessary reforms in our education system from early childhood all the way to the tertiary levels. The Working Party concluded its work and submitted a report whose recommendations are already being implemented. The urgent and vexing question of transition to junior school has been settled, and the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment will be used for the exclusive purpose of monitoring learners' progress and not for placement in any grade. In keeping with our commitment, 56,750 new teachers have been employed. I'm sure the Honorable Milemba can confirm this. While 8,200 primary school teachers were retrained to equip them with capacity to effectively deliver learning and teaching at junior school levels. With changes to the entry requirements for teacher training colleges, admission has increased by 300% to now 20,456 trainees. I was privileged to be in Kwale last week to open the Kwale Teacher Training College, which had only less than 100 students a few months ago. And when I went there, the principal told me that the numbers have increased 4 times. At the tertiary level, the Working Party recommended an overhaul of the existing education funding framework to a variable scholarship and loan model in order to address the financing gap which denied many Kenyans the opportunity to pursue tertiary education in our universities and TVETs, but also created many complications in our universities and institutions of higher learning that by last year, our universities had accumulated debts of close to 60 billion Kenya shillings. I sat down with all the vice chancellors of our 41 public universities, and we came up with a proposal that we are now implementing. The new model for financial support is student-centered and deploys a rigorous, impartial means testing instrument to establish the level of need of every student, which then becomes the primary consideration in allocating scholarships and loans. To fully democratize our education system and make higher education accessible and affordable to all, we have also chartered the Open University of Kenya, following requisite cabinet and parliamentary approvals. I want to thank this House for expediting the Open University Charter that had been in the works for the last 10 years. I also want to announce to you that the first 1,000 students will report next month. In the course of consulting Kenyans from all walks of life during the formulation of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the foundational contribution of health to citizen well-being and the role of costs in driving up poverty were identified as chronic. The implications are very clear, and we cannot afford to delay the delivery of universal health care anymore. Consequently, we have instituted radical reforms in the provision of healthcare services in Kenya, including the enactment of 4 new laws that will anchor the implementation of this bottom-up approach to healthcare. I am tremendously grateful to this House and honorable members for enacting the Primary Health Care Act, the new Social Health Insurance Act, the Digital Health Act, and the Facility Improvement Financing Act. These laws, honorable members, will usher in and guarantee a new era in the provision of healthcare, covering all essential services from preventive, promotive, curative, palliative, and rehabilitative services, guaranteeing every Kenyan access to comprehensive and quality healthcare. Under Afya Nyumbani, we have scaled up our investment in healthcare workforce, employing 20,000 new healthcare workers, deploying 8,429 workers whose contracts had lapsed, and enrolling 3,394 interns across the country to increase the availability of human capital in our public health sector. Working with county governments, and I'm again grateful to them, we have taken measures to resolve the perennial challenge of human resource management in the health sector, occasioning strikes, by establishing the Kenya Health Human Resource Advisory Council, which will be a trusted mediator between government at both levels and our health sector workers. Further, under the Afya Nyumbani model, we identified preventive care as an essential pillar of healthcare service delivery because it enables Kenyans to manage their conditions early enough before they cause serious harm in their well-being and productivity. Community health promotion is our bottom-up preventive and promotive health solutions at the grassroots by deploying community health promoters to visit Kenyans at their homes, provide basic diagnoses for common conditions, and refer cases to appropriate medical facilities. Together with all the 47 counties, and again, I am grateful to the governors, we have deployed 100,000 community health promoters fully equipped with the necessary kits and an electronic community health information system. In the last 1 month, CHPs have attended to 1.2 million households, just in the last 1 month. I spoke on phone to Mr. Masood Dirie, a community health promoter in Garissa, yesterday, who told me he has been a community health promoter, health volunteer since 2011. Unlike before, now he has a full medical kit and has used it to confirm that 7 people in his locality had high blood pressure. In a twist of fate, he tested himself and discovered that he too had high blood pressure. That's what he told me. And so, apart from referring others, he also had to make way to the hospital. Mr. Obembi Ogutu of Homa Bay told me that the program now makes primary health care a paperless engagement, saying it had started to reduce queues in hospitals. Through the Facility Improvement Financing Act 2023, we have established a framework that confers financial autonomy to health facilities, enabling them to retain funds generated with a mandate to improve facilities, capacity, and to provide healthcare services within that locality. In addition, the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, as part of many radical reforms, will now deploy ICT to manage supply chains of essential health products and commodities. As a result of this small intervention, KEMSA has improved its stocking rate from 40% to 60% in the last 5 months. And we are now targeting 80% by March next year. As is becoming clear, we cannot hope anymore to deliver services to Kenyans in their millions across the country with any measure of efficiency, integrity, transparency, and accountability without ICT. From education and health to agriculture and financial inclusion, digital technologies reign supreme in transforming service delivery, governance improvements, and catalyzing efficiency throughout the economy. We have commenced the rollout of 100,000 kilometers of the last mile fiber optic connectivity to make reliable high-speed internet available throughout Kenya, along with 25,000 free Wi-Fi hotspots in all market centers. The rollout, and I was given a statistics by the end of this year, the first 2,200 will be rolled out, and another 1,450 ICT hubs in every ward. I want to thank the membership of this House for considering to change the NGCDF Act so that you can also deploy those resources in the ICT space and enable millions of young people in your constituencies and wards to access internet and technology for digital jobs, e-commerce, and to give them the possibility of working on remote jobs. I have engaged the chair and committee of this House in that space. We have agreed on the model of how the ICT hub will look like, and I am truly grateful that Parliament came through and considered changing the law so that we can work on this together. We have expanded digital provision of public services to encompass 13,000 services to date, and it is my commitment to ensure full digitization by the end of next month. Our decision to enhance efficiency and integrity in the provision of government services has gone a long way to improve revenue collection. Working with the private sector, we launched the local assembly of affordable smartphones last week in Athi River. Digitization and automation enhance service delivery and citizen satisfaction, and also assures greater accuracy, transparency, and accountability, and reduces opportunity for corruption in the course of transacting with government ministries, departments, and agencies. Corruption, honorable members, wastage, inefficiency, and negligence are serious threats to our transformation agenda and unacceptable practice that has no place in our nation. I have given my firm assurance to the people of Kenya that cases of misconduct and corruption shall be dealt with ruthlessly, with finality, and expeditiously. I ask this honorable House to finalize the Assets Declaration and Conflict of Interest Bill to further tighten our anti-corruption policy framework and eliminate space for those who want to steal our money. The security and safety of all citizens is our foremost commitment and most fundamental obligation, without which every other endeavor is not possible. The reason why Kenya has continued on the path of steady progress is that we have maintained stability, peace, and security by affirming our territorial integrity and maintaining internal tranquility. This is not to say our country has not had its share of security challenges. The specter of terrorism is a continuing threat that we must remain constantly vigilant against. Pockets of banditry, cattle rustling, and armed lawlessness have besieged and devastated communities in the North Rift, Northeastern, and occasionally parts of Eastern and the coast regions. We all know that insecurity disrupts lives and destroys livelihoods. Our country has lost too many people to this menace. Many children have been orphaned and missed school, and many families have been displaced because of lawless men taking up illegal arms and waging war against communities. The government exists to ensure that those who challenge our sovereignty, territorial integrity, national security, and the safety of the people of Kenya are expeditiously countered and rendered harmless. We have therefore taken firm and decisive measures to deal with the challenge of banditry, armed crime, cattle rustling, and other forms of impunity in all parts of the country, beginning with a successful security operation to restore calm in the North Rift. We have been systematic, focused, thorough, unrelenting, and totally committed to removing for good all threats to lives and livelihoods of Kenyans. I know there are pushbacks from the criminals, but I want to assure the honorable members of this House that we will be unrelenting. And until it is done, it is not done. In discharging this commitment, we have been mindful not to use security imperatives to commit impunity, including misuse of resources and extrajudicial infringement on freedoms and fundamental human rights of citizens. Sorry. We are conscious to provide security as a public service for the benefit of law-abiding citizens and as a guarantor of economic growth. Therefore, our security services have been committed to a citizen-centric, rights-focused, inclusive, and community-based security strategy. I am therefore quite clear that there exists no tension between the effective delivery of security services and the upholding of human rights and fundamental freedoms. We can be, and therefore must be, secure, yet free and democratic. In order to entrench our all-of-society coalition, we have resolved to enhance diversity and inclusion by expanding enrollment in the National Youth Service as an agency to capture young people at the bottom of the pyramid. Consequently, we are doubling enrollment to 40,000 yearly in the National Youth Service and have made it absolutely mandatory that every village, center, town, and city in Kenya is properly represented in the recruitment. To consolidate this proposition, we have directed that 80% of future recruitment to all security services, from the military, the police, KWS, Kenya Forest Service, and all other security agencies, 80% will come from the well-trained, talented, and committed young men and women who have undergone training at the NYS. Kenya finds itself continuously summoned to its duty of care to serve as a reliable anchor to our region's security, peace, and stability. We continue to answer our historic, moral, and strategic responsibilities to deploy our resources in solidarity with our region in general and our immediate neighborhood in particular. To prevent the imminent collapse of Goma in eastern DRC, which would have had serious consequences for the wider East African region, we deployed our troops under the East African Community Regional Force. We have continued to anchor the fight against Al-Shabaab in Somalia under the Africa Union Transition Mission in Somalia. The Kenya Defense Forces continues to make Kenya proud, and I salute them. It is our firm position that only a democratically accountable system that is sensitive and responsive to the adverse and diverse composition of Sudan can secure that country. Given the regional interconnectedness, together with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the US, we have engaged the Jeddah process as IGAD to fashion a framework that will be best placed to successfully deliver peace in Sudan. Honorable members, our economy is firmly interconnected with regional, continental, and global economic systems. Our security and stability is likewise integrated with those of our neighbors. Kenya has a fundamental, essential, legitimate, and clear interest in conducting robust diplomacy in form of bilateral and multilateral engagements. For the last 12 months, we have continued to fulfill our international obligations through Kenya's leadership in the international arena. This is underscored by the high-level summits Kenya has hosted and participated in. Kenya successfully hosted the inaugural first-ever Africa Climate Summit. We also hosted the 43rd Ordinary Session of the Executive Council, the 5th Mid-Year Coordination Meeting of the Africa Union, and the Regional Economic Communities, and the first-ever African edition of the Berlin Climate and Security Conference in Nairobi. All these summits have brought into our country about 30 heads of state and government and over 30,000 delegates from different parts of the world. The government has made deliberate efforts to harness the immense and potential of Kenyans also in the diaspora. Indeed, I established the State Department of Diaspora in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that they can fully participate in the affairs of our motherland. I have committed to work collaboratively, consultatively, and collectively with the counties and all Kenyans to uphold our cherished national values as human dignity, equity, social justice, national unity, inclusiveness, integrity, good governance, transparency, and accountability. I encourage all honorable members and indeed all Kenyans to embrace an open mindset in regard to national strategic interests and to leverage on our rich heritage and diversity. One of the greatest strengths of our country is our capacity to devise bold, unprecedented solutions to our threats and challenges, create imaginative strategies to avert danger, and chart new paths to deliver us from adversity. There is no doubt that our nation has been confronted with immense pressure emanating from political misunderstandings sometimes and electoral disagreements. And it is because we have a robust democracy, which we are very proud of. Such pressure can disrupt lives and livelihoods and undermine our economy. Thankfully, Kenyans always find the moral strength and political imagination to reach across the political divide and engage in dialogue in the spirit of goodwill, fraternity, and commitment to the national interest and the welfare of the nation. It would be, honorable members, remiss of me not to mention the ongoing bipartisan process of national dialogue that has enabled our leaders to find common ground on many of the issues whose resolution will accelerate our transformation, deepen our democracy, and enhance national unity. Specifically, I thank the two co-chairs, my good brother, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, our former president, and the leader of majority in the House, Kimani Ichung'wah, for doing a wonderful job. Congratulations, gentlemen. I salute the courage and patriotism of my fellow leaders who have embraced national dialogue and engage and encourage all of us to keep up the noble work of bringing Kenyans together. There is so much to report about the progress we have made in serving the people of Kenya and transforming our economy. I have provided only a summarized highlight of the most salient instances of transformational progress in my address. It is my pleasant duty to hand to the speakers of the Houses of Parliament the three reports in full as follows: the 10th annual report on measures taken and progress made in the realization of the national values and principles of governance, the 10th annual report on progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic of Kenya. Number 3, the 10th annual report on the state of national security. I will not hesitate to acknowledge with profound humility that a lot of the successes we have achieved in delivering the bottom-up economic transformation agenda was due to the patriotic support and solidarity from members of this House, both in the Senate and the National Assembly. We are fortunate to be attempting this ambitious historic project of radical change in a bipartisan era when dialogue, consensus, collaboration, and partnership have replaced dissent, contention, conflict, and disarray as the operating principles of political discourse. Issue-oriented politics, honorable members, is not just a democratic necessity and a pathway to sustainable transformation. It is the most effective way of mobilizing diversity for collective national good. As the world reels from the destructive assaults on democracy and the relentless subversion of human dignity, freedom reigns supreme in our land, and our democracy grows deeper and more robust by the day. Our collective resolve as a nation to further entrench constitutionalism, democracy, good governance is a unique quality, confers on us an incomparable advantage: the power to face the future without fear, to imagine a transformation that extends to posterity and envisions prosperity that benefits our children's offsprings and beyond. As long as we put the welfare of the people of Kenya as our central agenda and play our respective roles in ensuring that government is effective and accountable, efficient and transparent, Kenya's best fortunes are well within our reach. I am persuaded, honorable members, beyond any reasonable doubt, that we shall achieve transformation beyond our wildest dreams within this generation. As a leadership and as a people, we have a historic opportunity to preside over the greatest transformation and progress ever witnessed in our nation. Kenya is a nation of brave, hardworking, enterprising people who are determined to prevail in the struggle for economic freedom and win the race for prosperity. In a nation like ours, great deeds will be accomplished whenever and wherever opportunity exists. This is why the hard work we have done is already showing the promise of abundant fruit. We have laid a firm foundation for rapid development, and Kenya is no longer on the marks.